Hi there, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine show with the greatest cameraman in the business today, Sonny Hersh, and your host, Avi Meyers.
Thank you, Marty. Welcome, everybody, to the Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hersh and myself. Dial us up on the web, ntnm.org, where over 50,000 shows have been watched on YouTube. I'm not counting exactly anymore. They're just, like 50,000 is a lot. I'll let you know when it's 60 maybe 70, but it's a big job counting all this stuff up, so I'm not going to do that. Caps, we're real big on Caps, caps24.org. Sonny Hersh, who in his spare time, actually earlier today put in a new thermocouple in my furnace and also changed the filter on the humidifier. Who built this entire set, does all the technical work for the show, and also in his spare time as Dr. Frankenstein actually built me, and perhaps part of the robotic parts of my next guest, or only guest on the show.
But anyway, guest who needs no introduction.
And thanks to Joe Chuck J for bringing in my guest who needs no introduction, but I'll introduce him anyway. The Alderman of the 50th Ward, Alderman Berny Stone. How are you, Alderman?
Hi, Avi.
And before I start talking about Rod Blagojevich, the gift that keeps on giving, there's one question.
Bleep.
There's one question. By the way, I'm not the I told you so type. People who know me know that. But I've got a lifetime full of I told you so's for so many people on Blagojevich, it's not even funny. But you know what? My neighbor's got a problem, and this is a very unusual governmental problem. You know her, Mary from across the street. And this is very strange. Now, she hasn't gotten a water bill in over 2 years. And her last water bill...
She's in trouble.
...says... Well, that's what I'm telling you. Her last water bill said 0, nothing owed. And she's been calling them like crazy, trying to get a bill. And they keep saying they're going to send her a bill, and they're not going to send her a bill. And she says, I don't want any penalties. She's trying to be honest. Matter of fact, she's got the corner now. She's the crossing guard over here.
Has she written letters?
She has written letters, made phone calls.
Copies of the letters?
I'd have to ask her about the copies of the letters.
Well, she better keep copies of the letters. Otherwise, she's going to be charged penalties.
And she has been trying, and they won't send her a bill for over 2 years. So anyway, hey, you know what? If any of you guys from the water department are watching this, go to our website, ntnm.org, contact me, or call the number at the end of the show, or check me on the web, because she'd really like to pay her bill, and at least I want to be on record about that. Rod Blagojevich, the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, that's been the news. I mean, this is like, I've been telling people for so long. I do have some questions before we get into some of the more interesting stuff. Now, you've actually seen him up close, and I know what a big fan you are of his.
Oh, the greatest.
and we have discussed some of that on the air.
The last time I saw Rod Blagojevich up close was in my office. It was in 2006, before the election, and I yelled at him for 1.5 hours straight. And the last thing, and
I remember we talked about this.
And Joe was there, and Joe can attest to it. And he said to me, "Have you finished venting?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I don't need your support. I'll win anyway." And I said, "You're probably right." He said, he said, "But I'll still, what can I do for you anyway?" So I gave him a number of projects I had going in the ward, none of them which, of course, were done in the ensuing 2 years. Well, it's almost 3 years.
Well, did you offer him 6 figures or something for a Senate seat? Or?
No, that's maybe, you see, now I understand why none of them were done. I offered no compensation for any of them because they were public projects that the ward needed.
I'm proud to say, and that's the nice thing about having Jewish Chicago, I can prove it in writing. I have not only never voted for him, never endorsed him, I've been warning people about him from the very first primary election. They have nothing to do with the guy. Matter of fact, Gary Chico was the first person I supported that you did also. Was very helpful to the neighborhood education-wise when he...
Yes, Gary. I've known Gary since he was a young student going to law school. I known Rod long before Dick Mell knew Rod, or his daughter knew him. I knew Rod when he started out as a young lawyer working for, guess who? Edward R. Berdoliak.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, a lot of people didn't know that. Otherwise, they may not have voted for him.
Yeah, I'm personally not the biggest fan of Verdole. But, I want to talk about Blagojevich. First of all, Saturday Night Live introduced something new. I've studied Blagojevich so much over time, and I've been waiting for this, and I have predicted that our next governor was going to be Pat Quinn during this particular term on more than one occasion. But Saturday Night Live brought up something that I never even thought about. And you have seen him up close in your office. Mm-hmm. Is that a wig he's wearing?
No, I don't think so.
So that's really his hair.
I think so.
I'll give him credit for one heck of a head of hair at his age.
Oh, yeah. He's very proud of his hair.
Yeah.
As you are.
Yeah, I am.
And he doesn't go to Marty.
No, but as a matter of fact, this is my natural color, people.
Yeah.
Thank God. Good genes along those lines.
Listen.
Oh, by the way, I want to urge people, too, in case, just so you know, Marty's got a new haircut. I've been telling him to offer people.
Yeah.
Called the John Harris. Now, I'll tell you why.
That bothers me because I know John Harris, too, and I like John Harris. And,
I apologize for that. But
the fact that John left the city and went to work for Blagojevich has always bothered me. And now here is John being indicted with Blagojevich. Well, they haven't been indicted yet, but that bothers me because John Harris is a nice guy, and I didn't like seeing him go to work for Blagojevich, and now he's been drawn into this horrible sequence of events.
Well, by the way, I wasn't trying to knock him along those lines. Marty used to be his barber when he was around here.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
Yeah, well, John is a neighborhood boy, and in fact, I don't know if he still goes to St. Demetrius, but he's a nice man.
Okay.
And
it is unfortunate because people do get dragged in when they get involved in these situations.
He was a good man when he worked for the city. Even the mayor had nice things to say about John Harris, and I got to tell you that I'm really broken up over the fact that John got caught with Blagojevich. But I got to tell you something.
Yeah.
From a legal standpoint, I still haven't figured out what crime Blagojevich has committed.
Okay, explain. I mean, you're the lawyer. I'm not.
Well, he's got the intent to commit a crime, but so far I haven't seen the crime.
Yeah, he's kind of bungled all the...
I mean, he hasn't taken any money. He said he wants money, but he hasn't taken any money that I've seen so far. I mean, even the FBI hasn't accused him of taking any money. He's knocked people down asking for money, but he hasn't taken any.
That's an interesting point. That's a very interesting point.
He's threatened people.
Yeah.
But to the best of my knowledge, threatening isn't a crime. He swears a lot. That's not a crime.
No, and he certainly, Patty does too.
Well, that's what supposedly the tapes show. I haven't heard them, but that's what the tapes show. But in the meantime, I'm trying to figure out what the legislature has started impeachment proceedings on.
One of the interesting things to me, that you would understand that much better than I do. One of the things I've always found interesting is that so much of the Springfield crowd, I mean, basically, even though a lot of what they do, all of them, I mean, it's nice to see Emil Jones go. I'm not a fan of me. Everybody's paying higher property tax for their houses because of Mike Madigan. But
why do you say because of Mike Madigan? You mean because of the 7%?
Yeah, he's the one that...
No, the reason you're paying higher property taxes, there's a couple reasons. Number one, because the system is all wrong.
Well, that's true.
Number one, why do we have a system where all the schools are funded out of the property tax? Why do we have a system based on the assessment, and the assessment is so convoluted?
It is convoluted.
Everything we do is bad. Why haven't we done anything to reform it? The 7% cap was put on as a temporary basis. Madigan stopped doing it as a because it was supposed to be a temporary basis, and he says, stop already.
But doesn't the fact that he also represents businesses appealing their property taxes
Oh, yeah,
opposed to homeowners?
He does.
So, so the thing is, basically, he did something that favors his clientele in business, and but that's legal. I understand it's legal.
Yeah, but that's not the point. The point is, yes, he stopped the 7% cap, but you're assuming what his intent was. I'm not necessarily assuming that. But you see, my problem is why haven't we attacked the real problem? And the real problem is the fact that schools are funded out of the property tax.
Well, I agree. As we both know, our former state senator Art Berman was always, who I did see at your birthday party, by the way.
Yeah.
Was very fond of. He always talked about the fact that its originally intent was for the state to put up 50% of education, and things like the lottery that were supposed to go to pay for education.
It does. The lottery does go, but what they did is with the monies that the state was giving,
they took away.
They took away.
It was supposed to be the lottery in addition to that money.
That's correct.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, to me, this is like basically a lot of this is just legally corrupt and dishonest. It's legal. It's all legal.
It's corrupt in that it's like what Harold Washington used to call it, three-car Monty. The pea under the walnut shell.
Yeah.
They keep moving and they get around, and they're just fooling people. It's a game of fooling the people, and let's play straight with the people for a change. And until you get somebody who plays straight with the people, you're going to have the continuation of this corrupt system. It's corrupt is maybe the wrong word, because corrupt infers it's illegal. It's not illegal.
No, it's legal. I like to call it legal corruption. That's my new phrase for this year.
Yeah, well,
it's legal corruption.
It's
100% legal. I don't want anybody to think that I'm not saying any of that's illegal. These guys write their own rules.
Well, that's the problem, you see.
Yeah.
And that's what's wrong. You see,
I mean, you could do something ethical and honest, and it could be illegal. But then again, you can do something totally corrupt and dishonest and immoral, and it's legal.
The federal government had to act the way they did because for fear that Blagojevich would make the appointment of the senator. So they acted prematurely. If they had their way, they would have acted after he committed an illegal act. And the reason they haven't proceeded as yet is they've got other things that have occurred in the past that I'm sure will be added in before the indictment is filed. And then we'll have real basis for an impeachment proceedings. But at this point, on the basis of what has been discovered so far in the federal case, I don't think there's a basis for an indictment. That's why what the federal case is saying is that they're saying it's what do they call it? It's I forgot. It's where they conspire to do an act. It's
right.
It's a conspiracy. It's not the actual act of committing the crime. It's a conspiracy to commit a crime. So, in other words, and that's the basis really of the impeachment proceeding, and that's why I think that they're making a mistake by starting the impeachment proceedings now. They should wait until more of the federal case comes out, and then they'll have some corrupt acts, and by that type of corrupt, I mean illegal acts on which to base an impeachment proceedings.
Would you think by any, one of the things that crossed my mind, I mean, first of all, I have been more of a fan of Fitzgerald now than I was at one point.
I've never been a fan of Fitzgerald because I think Fitzgerald makes up laws as he goes along.
Okay.
Just what you were talking about.
But
now, I'm a fan of Eddie Jensen, and Eddie Jensen is one of the best attorneys on criminal law that you're going to find, and I'm sure that's one of the things that Eddie Jensen is going to do to the legislative committee. he's going to say to them, what crime has the governor committed?
I think he was saying that. I did watch the news earlier in this particular day, and I think he was basically saying things like that.
Well, this is going to go on the air after our taping.
Right.
And by that time, some of this may occur. But I'm saying to you, if I were him, this is what the points I'd be making. I think that the legislature acted prematurely. But by the time, and that's one of the things I think Chairman Curry said, we're going to move slowly.
Yeah.
I think they'll amend the impeachment proceedings as they go along. But hopefully by that time the federal government will have moved along too.
Well, I think it's pretty much an open secret that most of the people can't stand him. I mean, Blagojevich, and I think they were looking for any excuse to.
Well, you know, to know him is not to be able to. But the fact is that he gets the votes.
Yeah, which I still can't. I mean. Hopefully it's not you guys watching the show, but you sure, I mean, Judy Bart Topeka was a terrific candidate. I think she would have made a good governor.
No, she was a terrible candidate. She would have made a good governor, but she was a terrible candidate.
Okay, you're right. I'll accede to that.
She came across, and Judy is a friend of mine, and even if she's Republican, she's a friend of mine, but she came across like a fishwife. She did not come across like the Judy I know. Judy is a wonderful woman, but she was a great state senator, and she did not come across the TV or come across as what she really is. And unfortunate, truly unfortunate. If she had come across as the woman she really is, she might have beaten Blagojevich.
That would have been nice. You know what? Let's talk a little bit about the neighborhood.
All right.
And speaking of obstructionists, I was reading something on an obstructionist website. Let's see, CRD something or another. Anyway, the new school on Whipple.
Yes, sir.
It said something about bidding going. I mean, isn't the construction start?
Construction has started. I mean, all preparation. Of course, the actual construction will start in spring. You can't pour concrete now; it's too cold.
Yeah, has this been bid on? I mean,
there's bids going. Yeah, of course, but the final bids are not in as yet.
That's what I was curious about because he said that on his website.
The preparation.
So Greg, you were right about that. I'm sorry.
Preparation work is what's being done. The footings, all the work will be done in spring. But what's being done now is all the preparations, like digging the holes and so forth. The excavation work has been done. The school's being built. In fact, we're going to have. I met.
And this is about 10 years in the making. 10 years for that site. Is that correct?
Oh, it's 10 years since we started. Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it took us about 5 years to find a site. 2 years to get them to the board to buy the site, and now about 4 years to get this all.
Because I remember when those properties.
I am going to have a meeting. It'll probably be either the second or third week in January, and we'll have the neighborhood the people from the immediate blocks surrounding the school will be present, and. I'm going to have members of the Public Building Commission, members of the Board of Education. We will discuss the construction aspect. We'll discuss the boundaries of the new school, and we'll discuss other things that neighborhood people are concerned with. I can give you the boundaries as of right now.
Oh, I'd like to know, yeah, sure.
All right, the northern boundary, it's an irregular boundary, but I'll give it to you as best I can recall out of my mind, which is something.
Government doing something on an irregular basis?
Kedzie is the western boundary. That's the easy part.
Okay.
The northern boundary is Tui to Sacramento, Sacramento down to Estes.
Okay.
Estes over to California, California going straight south to Rosemont.
Okay.
Rosemont to Sacramento.
Okay.
Sacramento to Lincoln. Lincoln back to Kedzie. And Kedzie north to point of beginning, which is
Okay.
which is Tui.
It sounds like almost like the way they carved out Gutierrez's district.
No, actually, it is almost it is almost the old Decatur district and plus the Green district.
Oh,
Think
okay.
about it. Think about it. Decatur's district used to be Estes to Devon,
Yeah.
California to Kedzie.
Okay.
I lived. No, I mean not Decatur. That was Boone's district.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It wasn't. It was Estes on the north, Kedzie to Western.
Yeah.
That was the old Boone district.
Okay.
Because I lived on the north side of Estes, so my kids went to Rogers. If you lived on the south side of Estes, your kids went to Boone.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So, because I lived on the north side of Estes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that my kids' girlfriends lived on the south side of the street. They went to the Boone,
Yeah.
and my girls went to Rogers.
Okay.
So they got split from their girlfriends. Anyway, and then of course Devon was the dividing line.
Yeah.
Now Green, which was on Devon Avenue,
Right.
they went down to Lincoln. The only thing, see here, the difference on this district is it only goes to Rosemont, and the old district went to California all the way down to Lincoln.
Okay.
The old Green district went down to Lincoln and then went back to Kedzie.
So it's. I mean, that
It's
definitely.
the old. It's the old Boone and Green districts.
So basically, it sounds like nobody has much more than about a 6-block walk to school.
It's pretty close, yeah. The farthest walk would be, let's say, if you live down at Lincoln and Kedzie.
Yeah.
That's about a 7-block walk.
Okay. That's not too bad. Not for the furthest point.
And that's the farthest walk. And remember, this is a kindergarten to 8th grade. The school is meant to hold 700 to 900 kids.
Yeah.
It's a local school. It's not a. People say it's going to be. It's going to be a bust-in. It's not going to be a bust-in school.
Yeah, not a magnet school or anything like that.
It's not a magnet school.
People that live right here.
It's they say it's 3 stories. The only thing above 2 stories is the library. If you've seen the pictures on the sign that's on the property, there's a glassed-in, like 3rd floor. That's the library. It's like an open 3rd floor. It's like a solarium.
Yeah.
And it's the library.
That's kind of
It's
nice, actually.
beautiful. Yeah. Actually, it's very beautiful. The first 2 floors are the classrooms.
Yeah.
And there's a parking lot in back for 30 cars, which is for the teachers. It was interesting. I got a call the day they started digging. I got a call from someone who was opposed to the school right from the start. He lives a block and a half away, and he opposed the school right from the start. Of course, his kids go to private school, but he opposed the school right from the start. And he said, well, can't we make it a 1-story building? I said, they're digging the hole. Now you want to change the structure? Oh, well.
Yeah, one of the more interesting comments I heard, for the for that crowd that really still doesn't want to believe the school's there. Somebody was telling me yesterday that my least favorite lobbyist with the Aguda Political Committee, was basically telling the whole neighborhood not to worry because actually he said, I'm handling this with with Ira Silverstein, and he'll make sure the school is stopped. And of course, he did stop it, didn't he? Kalish and Silverstein, they did stop it, right?
The school will open in September of 2010. It'll be under construction all of next year. And it will open in September, in the spring of 2010. It will open in September of 2010.
Well, we've got about 3.5 minutes left.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's not a lot of time.
Oh, there's something very important
Sure.
has occurred. The people who tried to obstruct the building of the parking garage have finally given up the ghost, I guess, because they have not been able to raise the $1 million bond.
$1 million bond? Okay.
To appeal the judge's decision. So, but they were successful in delaying construction for 1 year, and now the
and actually, people should point at. I hate to, Greg. I'm sorry, but Greg Brewer, you're the person who messed up people's parking around here.
Well, he didn't. He wasn't a party to the lawsuit. He just convinced.
He arranged it.
He convinced other people to file the lawsuit.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I hope that he's going to guarantee them over when Chicago Title and Trust, who guaranteed the matter in which the lawsuit was filed over, they paid the attorney's fees. I hope he's going to guarantee over when Chicago Title and Trust files a lawsuit against the people who filed their suit.
Which we have talked about, a chancery lawsuit.
Oh yes, they're gonna file for their reimbursement of their the attorney's fees, which is at least a couple $100,000. Hope he's going to guarantee them over their money when they're forced to pay that money to them. And of course, if the contractor decides to sue for his damages, which is going to be interest on his loan and all the loss of profits for 1 year, I hope he's going to guarantee over all those losses also.
That would be nice.
So he's the one who convinced him to file the lawsuit and to be obstructionist. So I hope he's going to guarantee over all those costs. But it's okay to be an obstructionist.
Anyway, I am glad to hear that things are going to move forward there, and it'd be nice to see, because the businessmen have been hurting, the neighbors have been hurting.
Oh yes.
And there's a huge need for parking. There just plain is in the Devon area.
I'd like to answer some of the criticism also on the sale of the parking meters. First of all, let me explain this. I either voted for the increase in either the lease of the parking meters, or I would be forced next year to vote for an increase in property taxes, because that's what would result if we didn't have the funds. And I didn't want to vote for an increase in the property taxes. I didn't vote for the mayor's budget last year because I didn't want to vote for an increase in property taxes. And I didn't want to vote for an increase in property taxes next year, because if we didn't have these funds to back up our costs, there's no doubt in my mind that we'd have an increase in property taxes next year.
And as you pointed out, that's about the most unfair thing.
But in addition to that, it's good for businessmen, contrary to what's being said around that it's bad for businessmen. First of all, it keeps cars moving in the neighborhood. First of all, I can set the meters so that they'll be on a 15-minute period as opposed to an hour period. And in a 15-minute period, instead of $1 charge, it'll be $0.25 per 15 minutes. Now, currently, they're paying $0.25 for an hour.
Yeah.
So, if they want to go shopping for 15 minutes, they're still paying $0.25. And you go out for 15 minutes, you're paying $0.25. If you go for 15 minutes, you'll pay $0.25.
At this point, I got to cut you. I'm
All
sorry.
Right.
Next, I want to thank Alderman Berny Stone. We'll flesh it out more next time. Next week, Alderman Joe Moore. The week after, Deputy Chief Bruce Ratner and Liz Patel from the Rogers Park Community Council. I want to thank my entire tactical crew, Sonny Hersh. Thanks, Marty. Thanks, Joe Chuck Shea, for bringing the Alderman. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sonny.
Bye-bye.
Bye.